People who speak multiple languages, have you ever had funny situations where someone didn't expect you to understand their language?
I'm American, but I speak a little Russian. A few years ago, I was in St. Petersburg and decided to buy tickets for a boat to Peterhof. All the signs at the kiosk were in Russian, so I had no problem checking all the prices. However, it was obvious I wasn't a local, so a sly saleswoman decided to sell me tickets for 3 times the price. In response to this audacity, I looked her straight in the eyes and in clear Russian objected, "But the sign clearly says 1 ticket costs X." You should have seen her reaction. Her jaw almost dropped. Her colleague sitting next to her was laughing her head off. From what I know, this is a pretty common story in Russia. One price for locals, another for tourists.
I'm walking around Italy with a German friend, and I warn him in German, "Bro, maybe you shouldn't talk shit about people so much. You never know who might understand us here." A woman walking near us adds, "Yeah, for example, me." There was this Chinese food place near our student campus where everyone spoke Chinese. Even though I also know Chinese, I always spoke to them in English because I'm a bit shy about my accent. I usually order rice with meat from them, but this time I already had rice ready at home, so I decided to go just for the meat. I go in, place my order without rice, give the money, then I hear the cashier yelling to the kitchen staff in Chinese, "This fat ass will have only meat, no rice." I heard it very clearly and decided to add in Chinese, "That's right, I have plenty of rice at home." Since then, they always give me extra, and by the way, they didn't charge me a cent for that order.
My friend and I were trying to get home after a night of drinking, but it was far to go and we didn't have much money. So we found 2 other women who needed to go the same way and suggested we share a taxi. They agreed, we call a taxi, we're riding. Then they suddenly start speaking in Swedish, not knowing that my friend is half Finnish, half Swedish. I also understand Swedish in principle, but at that moment I was so drunk that I didn't care about anything. Suddenly, I get a text from my friend. They are not going to pay for the taxi. I reply, maybe we should tell the driver. My friend turns to the driver and says, "Don't let these 2 ladies out until they pay their half." He took the hint, locked all the doors, and they had to pay up after all.
I lived in South Korea for 3 years, but barely learned Korean. However, during that time, I met a Korean girl who spoke English. Everyone thought she wasn't local because she was very tall and spoke with a strong American accent from studying in the USA and New Zealand. So when she went to study at an international university in South Korea, her teachers decided that she didn't speak Korean and often insulted her right in front of her. She felt very uncomfortable but didn't let it show and endured it for a whole year. Until graduation time came. At graduation, she went on stage in front of 800 people and gave a speech in perfect Korean, casually reminding her teachers how they called her a foreign pig. According to witnesses, one of the teachers burst into tears from shame right then and there. Sigh.
When I was 16 and got a job at McDonald's, I ended up in a Spanish-speaking team where no one suspected that I was also quite proficient in Spanish. Sometimes these guys would make very rude remarks about me in Spanish, but I pretended not to understand. This continued until a few weeks into the job when the manager came up to me and said that he was valued more than me because he knew 2 languages. To which I immediately replied in Spanish, "Cool, but I know 3. The guy was just stunned when it dawned on him that I had been understanding their little chats all along.
I'm half Peruvian, half Swiss, but I live in Peru. You'd never guess from my looks that I have any Swiss in me. One time, I'm on a bus and I hear 2 Swiss women sitting behind me chatting about the attractiveness of Latino men. Suddenly, one of them asks which one I am for her friend. Handsome. I, without waiting for an answer, quickly turn to them and say, "Yes, I'm also curious." It was so hilarious. The expressions on their faces were priceless. There was everything: shame, confusion,
But now I have two new friends. They were speaking Swiss German, Schweizerdeutsch. They later admitted that they both found me attractive. I'm an American expat in Thailand, and I have a big beard that attracts a lot of attention. Local people, not suspecting that I understand them, sometimes like to shout things like, "Look, a monkey, a monkey. Want a banana?" or some other nastiness in my direction. I usually just ignore it because I don't want to talk to them. But there was one time I couldn't take it. Two young girls, about 14, started following me and annoying me with comments about a monkey. I stopped, looked straight at them, and said in clear time, "There are no blue-eyed monkeys. They have black eyes, like yours." They were speechless that very second. While I was in Germany, my friend who was an English teacher invited me to her class for one of her lessons. She introduced me to the students. I said hello, said that I was from the USA and was happy to be in their lesson. Then my friend says, "Guys, you can ask him questions in English. What do you think Americans are like anyway?" Some kid in the front row decided to make a joke in German. Fat and stupid. He wanted to say it quietly, but it came out so that everyone heard his crap. The teacher blushes, the school kids are laughing. I don't know what to do and quickly switch to German. You're right. And also, many Americans speak German. The kid almost shit himself from such a surprise. At that moment, he looked like a little deer that had accidentally wandered onto a stage during a Beyoncé concert. My friends and I went to a mall to buy some clothes. While I was stuck in the fitting room, two store employees were standing nearby and totally trashing me in Spanish. They were unhappy that I was taking too long to change, called me a stupid gringo, and periodically teased me by asking me in English if I needed any help. They just didn't know that I have Spanish roots. So when I came out of the fitting room and told them in clear Spanish that no, I didn't need any help, they just burned with shame.
My aunt and I were flying on vacation to a resort. We're sitting at the airport, chatting with each other in Finnish, waiting for our flight. My aunt has a broken leg, so she's in a wheelchair the whole time. Important note, even though we are both Finnish, my aunt has been living in Germany for several years and speaks German fluently. I also lived there for a bit, but my language skills are worse. So finally, it's time to board. The flight attendant sees that my aunt is in a wheelchair and offers us to board first. A displeased German couple is standing nearby, and the husband says to his wife, "In my opinion, disabled people shouldn't be allowed to fly on planes at all." My daredevil aunt asks me to slow down, turns to this man, and replies in perfect German, "Sorry, sir, but no fracture can deprive me of my vacation, and what you said is very offensive to disabled people. I sincerely feel sorry for your wife. Have a good flight." Without saying a word, the man turned red and looked away. His wife was in shock.
Even though I'm Spanish, you wouldn't guess it from my appearance. I have light skin, light hair, and green eyes. When I lived in London, I found myself in funny situations several times. My favorite is when I was riding the metro home from work. That day, there was a big football match, Chelsea versus Barcelona, and I ended up on the metro with a couple of fans who were on their way to the game. At some point, the metro stopped abruptly. I couldn't hold on and fell onto one of them a little. I didn't know they were Spanish, so I apologized to the guy in English. They write on, he's been savoring the situation in Spanish for about 5 minutes now. Phrases like, "This fat cunt should have just fallen on the floor," are being used. Soon we approach their stop, they get off the metro, and I shout after them in clear Spanish, "Have a great game, shitheads." The guys are in shock. God, I was probably high from that for a week after. My stepmother grew up in Japan, speaks Japanese, but looks like a white Italian. She's only a quarter Japanese and doesn't look like a typical East Asian woman at all. One time, she decided to have a little girls' night out with her friends and took them to a salon for a manicure and pedicure. The women working at the beauty salon were speaking Japanese and mostly discussing men, gossiping, and all that. But when it came to my stepmother's pedicure, they abruptly switched to her. The thing is, she's not the slimmest woman, and her feet aren't exactly model material.
The workers figured this out and started making fun of her. In Japanese, naturally. They were all giggling and enjoying that someone was less lucky with their looks than they were. My stepmother said that at first she didn't want to react, but after 5 minutes of continuous trash talk, her patience ran out, and she finally answered them in their language. You know, I didn't think this establishment only served princesses. The smiles on the workers' faces were quickly replaced by endless guilt. They apologized in English and didn't say another word until the procedure was over.
I had a funny incident in Japan. I'm walking down the street and I hear, "Oh, look how hot," and blue-eyed too. My self-esteem soared to the skies. I turned my head to look at my admirers, and there, 13-year-old schoolgirls who looked even younger because, well, Asians, you know. After that, it wasn't so pleasant anymore. I lived in Korea for a while. I go to get a haircut. The hairdresser's assistant sits me in the chair, prepares me for the haircut, and I hear her say to the hairdresser, "Wow, he looks like a baby." I ask, "Who, me? I look like a baby?" She got very embarrassed and suddenly ran off somewhere, but the hairdresser found out that I understand Korean, and we switched to it.
I'm Brazilian, but I've spoken English since I was little, so I can easily pass for an American, if I don't talk too much. Once I had to fly from Atlanta to Rio. At the airport, I met two very beautiful girls who spoke excellent English and were flying with their mom. As I found out later, they were Americans with Brazilian roots and also thought I was just an American. We chatted a bit, exchanged pleasantries, and it turned out that one of the girls had a ticket for the seat next to me. Then we board the plane. I put my luggage in the overhead bin, and I hear the mother of these girls say to them in Portuguese, "Poor thing, he thinks I'm gonna let him fly with one of you." To which I turn to her and reply, also in Portuguese, "Don't worry, ma'am, I have a girlfriend, so I will be delighted to share this flight with you." And she sat without saying a word for the entire flight. I don't speak Spanish very well, but I understand everything without a problem. I used to deal in used cars in Houston, and as you can probably guess, often dealt with Spanish speakers. They never asked me if I spoke Spanish because I look like a typical white guy who knows nothing but English. It was funny to watch couples come up to me and discuss their price haggling schemes right in front of me. I always knew their tricky tactics and how much they were really willing to pay. I often overheard phrases like, "I'll try to knock off $1,000, but if he agrees to even $500 less, we'll take it anyway." After we settled on a price, I waited for the right moment to jump into their conversation and show them that I had understood everything all along. As a rule, after that, the guys would always be stunned, and you could read on their faces, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" Those moments were simply priceless. Have you ever had a moment like this? Share your story in the comments.